afraid to turn out the lights? Is there something you're scared of? What's there out in the dark? Make sure to keep all your windows locked. Do you surrender? You try to stay awake. These walls you can't escape. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Yeah. Do you lie awake at night? Are you afraid to turn out the lights? Is there something you're scared of? What's there out in the dark? Make sure to keep all your windows locked. Do you surrender?
Hello and welcome to PHP Alive and Kicking, brought to you by PHP Architect and made better by our partners at PHPScore. More about them later. This is the podcast that explores the latest developments in PHP and what it's like to earn a living in PHP today. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Page, and I'm a developer at PHP Architect. And my co-host and a long-time contributor to our magazine and now fellow It was
Fellow
going to
team
happen.
member?
It was going to happen. Hi, team member, Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I was going so well, and I knew it was just going to happen.
I mean, it's always going to happen. We're live.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yes, as Chris just said, we are live. This is not pre-recorded, so please jump into our Discord, join the chat, ask us any questions. We're here to have a bit of fun. It's the last one of the year. So please do come and join us. If you're watching us on our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. If you're not, head over to our YouTube channel and like and subscribe. My script keeps flickering on my other screen for some reason, so I might go off piece in a second. As I said, or try to say that Chris is a long-time contributor to the magazine. We do have a discount code for our listeners, which it's been a long time since I've done one of these. I can't remember, Live 3. I forgot what the code was. A Live 3. We're out of practice. We've been doing so many of the pre-recorded ones the last couple of weeks. I'm out of practice now. A Live 3, that will give you the first 3 months of a year's digital subscription. I think Chris is laughing at one of our guests is taking the mickey out of me in the private chat here in Restream. All right.
I mean, to be fair, it's in the private chat for a change.
Yes, he normally does it in public. JS Tech.
We are doing a JS conference.
What? Yeah, we are doing a JS conference alongside our PHP Tech in May in Chicago. I think Call for Papers is closed. It must be closed by now. Time's going too quick. We're almost at the end of the year already. But do get tickets. Come over. We'll have a lot of fun. We are sort of deciding whether to segregate the PHP developers from the JavaScript developers, or whether we need to hire a security team to come and keep us separate.
So, out of interest, how are we dealing with those people that do both?
They need to choose
PHP.
Side the line. There you go. Swag. We have a swag store where you can get t-shirts, caps, cups, mugs, all sorts. Do swing by and have a look at see what you can get there. That is all our things we have to tick off, I think, at the beginning of the show. So we have said this is a special episode. It is the last one of the year, a holiday special, and there's only one way to do a holiday special. We are doing a Below the Decks, but not just one guest, not two guests. We have 3 guests on. Do you want to bring them in, Chris?
So we have Joe, who is our server guru, knows everything about servers. We have Frank, who we've had on before, one of our PHP developers. And then we thought we'd be nice to the JavaScript people, and we brought Brooks along, who is also...
He's our mobile guy. He does all the mobile apps.
He does it in JavaScript, so we'll forgive him for that for a bit.
Thank you.
Yeah. How is everyone?
Great. Good.
Cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, you sound it, all of you. Yeah, the energy in the room is awesome.
It's the end of the year. We're all going, no, work, no.
So look, we all just got out of the same meeting of Eric and John yelling at us for an hour and a half. So I don't know why everybody's so giddy.
Yes,
there is that. Yeah, but this is a safe space. Eric and John aren't with us, so we can say what we want. It's not like they're watching or anything.
Yeah, or do they want? Oh gosh.
Although Eric did threaten to drop in later on if he's managed.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, this is the real end of year review, guys.
Yeah.
So this is the one where we all find out.
Yeah.
There'll be completely new hosts next year. We'll tune in January and there'll be some completely different bunch of people. We always start off with the same question. I'm going to pose that question to Brooks.
Oh,
you get PHP.
what was that?
The first question we always ask all our guests is, how do they get into PHP? I thought I'd pick on you first.
I joined PHP Tech.
That is a very good answer.
Slowly being forced down my throat. That's how I got into PHP.
Now, have you played with native PHP yet?
I have. I like their recent update where they had some native, basically, not plugins, components. So they're real native components, which was cool. That's kind of like how React Native does the mobile side. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, besides the PHP part, it's cool.
Yeah.
So we already know how Frank got into PHP because he joined us a few. It feels like years ago that Frank was on the show with us. It feels ages ago. So over to you, Joe. How did you get into PHP?
I discovered PHP in the early 2000s when I came across PHP BB, which was a PHP bulletin board project. It was either the late 90s, early 2000s. And that was one of the easiest ways to start a forum community back in the day. We used to do that. Not so much anymore. There's still a few hanging around, but yeah, that was my introduction to PHP, and it's just been kind of a wild ride since then.
Cool. What you do a lot more sort of the server side within the team. So what sort of brought you over onto that side, the dark side?
The dark side. Well, so I started doing PHP professionally in 2005, and in 2019, I had the opportunity to join a startup that was a Python-focused startup doing DevOps with them. So what they were doing was they were doing a machine learning. They had a machine learning product, so they would do machine learning, and then they would do predictive maintenance on engines. And it was really cool. I got to learn a lot about data science and machine learning and that sort of stuff. But I also got to really focus on the server infrastructure. We migrated a lot of stuff over to Kubernetes and ran several Kubernetes clusters, and really I just kind of fell in love with server. And I've always been kind of a big server nerd. I learned Linux in the late 90s, and it was one of those really cool new things at the time. And I just kind of stuck with it. So I've just always kind of preferred server side backend programming, and PHP has always kind of allowed me to flex those muscles here and there. And then I've been able to start getting full-time roles where I'm just doing more DevOps or operations or some kind of mix in between. So I would say what I do for PHP Architect is somewhere in between DevOps, operations, and SRE type stuff. So yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah, basically, Joe's the one we call for help quite a lot.
Yeah.
This isn't working. Help.
Yeah, the server's not responding. Well, should it be?
Have we turned it on? Oh yeah.
Did we deploy? Did we? Yeah.
Most of my conversations with Joe start with Joe, I broke it again.
Or are you caffeinated enough to have this conversation? Which sometimes is, sometimes not.
Yeah, I tend to not even bother telling Joe I've broken it. I just say Joe. he just knows.
Assumes that. What have you broken now?
It shortens the response time.
Yeah, no, less to type then.
Sarah has just realised that we're live.
All right. Hey, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah. Chris was threatening to get you out of the bath again to join us.
I mean, I did message her. She is not in the bath. She is currently several thousand feet above Greenland.
Oh. Ooh.
She's flying.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Cool.
I think. From what she said.
I hope she's flying.
I don't know.
One way or another, in some form. Yeah.
So the next next question for you both, Brooks and Joe, you can one after another. How did you come about working with us lunatics?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go on. You go first.
All right, I'll go first. So big into Ionic development, capacitor. And there's a Discord for Ionic development, and somebody copy and pasted a tweet that Eric made about looking for help with a capacitor plugin. So I I signed into, I guess it was X at the time, and responded, and that's how it rolled from there.
Cool.
Yeah.
So there was a time where they actually advertised jobs then.
Yeah, I think it was.
To be fair.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah. Shush.
We better let him in.
Everyone shut up.
Eric.
Stop talking.
Oh no.
Dorks.
I mean, I like the fact that you've just listed yourself as PHP architect Big Dog.
You like that? Big
Yeah.
dog.
So we were just finding out why they're all employed here. We were just finding out
Mistakes.
why
Several
they're
mistakes were made. I gotta be honest with you. I gotta be straight with you.
So Eric,
I got a question.
Go on.
I'm taking over. I'm the captain now.
Hang on, where's that button to put him back in the green room?
I mean, I have the mute button.
So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because Joe and Brooks, I'm not 100% sure on. Frank, I'm pretty sure on. But Mike and I are the only two here that did a career pivot to become a developer. Right? You weren't initially a developer, were you?
No, I did all sorts of things. I did lots of things. I worked in retail. I worked in banking as like an advisor, as customer services and complaints management. And then the previous job before I became a developer, I was working in a secondary school or high school for our American friends as a theatre technician. So looking after all the light and sound and the AV equipment. I've been doing some freelance work in theatres for quite a few years over the years as well, doing like light and sound design for musicals and plays and live events. And I kind of ended up helping out with the network team within the school. They then had an intranet that was built in PHP, and I kind of started dabbling with it, and they asked if I could add to it, and I just learnt. That's how I learnt PHP. And then I decided in 2020 to try and take the plunge and move, and that's what I did. It's got a job with a local small company that did a lot of AR and VR content, training content, and I built the databases and the APIs and the admin panels for all the apps that they built for all these different companies. Unfortunately, that kind of the web side of it dried up in the business, and they did have to let me go. And I posted in the PHP Ugly Discord, I'm looking for a job, and some bloke called Eric messaged me, said, "Shall we have a chat?" And
Well, see, we used to drink back then when we did our show.
I'm so glad you did, because now I'm working with you guys, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here. But yeah, it's a big pivot change for me.
How about you, Joe? Were you always in tech?
No, I spent several years in retail before I finally conned or talked somebody into believing that I could turn a PSD into a website, which I kind of could at the time. And then I spent the next 7 years working for that same company, cutting up PSDs and also modernizing their e-commerce platform, taking it from a single site that used a Perl shopping script that was like pure old school Perl CGI bin shopping script to a couple different PHP shopping carts until we actually modified one that I can't even remember what the name of it was. We modified one to be multi-tenant, because when I left there 7 years later, we had over 500 sites that were selling products. So we had a multi-tenant shopping cart system, and that was like the first big thing I worked on as a real professional developer getting paid to do it.
That's funny because you brought up PHP BB, which definitely was one of my first like forays into like using a package in PHP. I also was a big Nuke PHP person. You remember Nuke PHP?
Absolutely. Nuke PHP.
Oh
yep.
my gosh. I thought that was I love Nuke PHP. I built a huge personal site off that thing. That was great. How about you, Brooks? Have you always been a developer?
No. I was a car mechanic for a while, life insurance salesman.
Kidding. All right.
A couple other things. I did IT recruiting for a little bit. And eventually I was doing IT, like managed service provider stuff, and I started automating my job. And that's how I got into development, was automating myself out of the job and then finding another one.
So, fun fact, Frank and I actually worked very close together for a brief moment in our life, and we didn't know each other.
That's right.
And then as like luck would have it, like I think I started putting it together because we were sharing like when Frank and I became friends. I think we met up at the user group, right? That had to be
That's
where
right.
we met
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
And I noticed
SDPHP.
like we had friends in common on Facebook that were very specific to a company I worked at.
Yeah,
And
especially
I'm
Andrew.
like, how do you know this person?
Yeah.
And it turned out he worked for basically. So the company we worked for, it was huge, and it was a big umbrella company, but it had a bunch of like segments in it. One was gaming, which is where Frank was, and yeah, so we both worked for the same corporate entity. And yeah, as a matter of fact, I even hung out in their offices for like lunch and stuff a few times before I knew Frank.
Right.
That was crazy.
We had the server farm below my floor, which is where EverQuest lived and some other stuff. Yeah.
EverQuest, yes, yeah, that'll kind of give the hint at who we're talking about here. But yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. It's funny because back then, so I didn't start off well. I don't know. I mean, I got into development very young, like with basic and stuff. Try to take it in college. Back then there was no web, so it was like all I was learning COBOL, and I'm like, no, this sucks. I'm not doing this. and I like basically had sworn off computers, and then just ended up down this life path of different things. Which I appreciate all the experiences I got. I mean, one of the more enjoyable things, and the thing that brought me, actually, computers brought me to San Diego, because my chemistry teacher from high school had moved out here, and she was my chemistry teacher and my wife's chemistry teacher. So we remained friends after school, and she had moved out here. She was into the sciences, and she was running a lab out in San Diego. Had heard of their water purification person needing somebody to who knew computers, because nobody knew computers back then, but it was also really good with science. And she knew I was good with science because she was my chemistry teacher. And so she goes, I know you do computers. Would you be interested in this? I'm like, yeah. So that led me down this path of water purification and all that. I stayed in that industry. I thought that was going to be my life because I'd made like a lot of really good friends and everything. But then the web started happening, and kind of what you were saying, Brooks. I started realizing, oh, we're not leveraging computers like we should be. Like I had gotten my water, so we weren't doing like home systems. These were like big companies that were basically getting water back to H2O. And one of the biggest things we had to do is we had to like keep track of filters and pressures and all this. And I realized that I could program a computer to predict what I needed for the day. So like, when I would go out in the morning, I would run my little program and figure out, okay, I need these filters. I need, I should go see this client because I hadn't been there for a while, and this client had high pressures, and it got me excited about it again, and which led down a whole nother path, which eventually got me to web development, and that's what blew my mind, because web development to me was where things needed to be. And this was, we're still talking late 1990s, so like 96, 97. And I'm like, this is the direction. This is what's going to make computers accessible to everybody. And I just got really excited about it. Unfortunately, I had a friend of mine who was working at the company Frank and I worked at, and I was talking to him. We played baseball together, Tom, and I'm like, hey, how do I get into this? And back then he was like, because I didn't have a degree or anything, and I wasn't doing it for a living. And he was like, only thing I can suggest is get a Microsoft certification. And so that's what I did. I went and got one of those. I got my little MCP and started working on my Microsoft certifications, and he actually ended up hiring me, and back then I was just sysops. I mean, I didn't do any full-time development. I didn't do any full-time development till John and I. John is actually the one who convinced me to try to make a living as a developer. And yeah, so I mean, really, in the expand of my life, me as a professional developer is like the least amount of time I've done done something. So but it's fun. I've been enjoying it, and I get to hang out with you guys all day. How cool is that?
Yeah. Well, on that note, I think we've got to pay the bills. Let's hear from
Please do that. Yes.
Yeah, we'll hear from our partners.
Thank you to our partners at PHPScore.com. Every app builds up technical debt over time. It's the price we pay for shipping new features and moving fast. When we build up too much of it, though, it can start to impact how we work. Team velocity suffers, bugs become more frequent and take longer to fix, and everyone starts to get a little frustrated. The key to managing debt is to measure it. A credit score can help you understand how well you're managing your financial debt, and now there's a credit score for your technical debt. Go to phpscore.com to get a free technical debt score and monitoring for all of your PHP applications today.
Thank you, PHPScore.
All right. So cool. All right, that's all I'm doing. You guys gotta figure the rest out.
You mean we have to now think?
This is a lot of orange, man. I actually had my orange shirt on. I'm like, nah, I'm going team black. You got to balance the screen here a little bit.
Yeah, we've got 3 and 3 now. 3 and 3.
Yep.
I do like Joe's just updated his little description. So there was someone that suggested a few subjects to talk about today.
There was,
but I was going to say, because they weren't here, I'm just going to throw them in the bin, do whatever we want to do. But he's here, so we're going to have to behave ourselves.
We definitely need to talk about the last one and why Eric is our favourite boss.
That's right. Hey, who's here right now? Who's here?
Hang on, I thought we were saying it was John.
No.
I just changed. Chris has pivoted. He was saying John earlier.
We talked about this. We were going to talk. We were going to say whoever the first one to join the call was going to be. That was going to be our favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Okay. Fair enough. I've forgotten that bit of the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brooks will be back in a moment. He's having weird sound issues.
I wondered who is having those sounds. Anyway, so the first question that was suggested we should talk about is IDEs and what IDEs we'll use.
So my answer actually depends on who I'm talking to, because I go with the IDE that they're comfortable with. So I've got NeoVim, I've got VS Code, and I've got PHP Storm installed, and I'll switch between them. But if I'm not talking to anybody, then it is clearly NeoVim, because it's the only one that works and doesn't constantly break.
What are y'all's thoughts on all the VS Code clones now? Like everything, like all the AI stuff coming out now. The cursor. Google just released something. I forget what it's called. It starts with
anti-gravity.
Yeah, anti-gravity. Yeah, they're all like VS Code clones that they've put their little AI spin on.
I think they're great, but you can't have all the plugins that VS Code has for some reason, which just drives me mental. Yeah, there's
Is there any actual innovation happening, or is it just different wrappers around different companies and AIs they're shoving down our throats, right?
Yeah.
I think the last several that I've seen have just been like, oh, you forked VS Code so you can shove your agent down our throats instead of Copilot. Okay, that's fine. I don't think I need to spend any more time in this, which is very dismissive as a developer who really, you should have strongly held ideas, or was it strong ideas loosely held? Whatever. So I'm mixing up that metaphor, but you should be open to new things, right? Developers should always be open to trying new things, and learning new things, especially. And I've spent hours and hours and hours with different editors, and I keep coming back to PHPStorm just because that's where the muscle memory is. And if and I keep trying whenever I go try VS Code. I think my most successful stint with VS Code was about 1.5 years, and I still struggled almost daily with the muscle memory. I just couldn't get the keybinds to be what my brain was expecting. And it also didn't help that I was jumping between Mac OS, Linux, and Windows. So the muscle memory there just really, I probably just never really got it cemented in my brain like I did with JetBrains early on.
So do you use the JetBrains key bindings, or are you like one of these like myself with the Vim emulator on top of it?
Most of mine would be like the default JetBrains, just because when I went from Dreamweaver to
Dreamweaver, nice.
I love Dreamweaver because it was the only WYSIWYG editor that could do tables at the time, right?
Yeah,
Front page would just crap all over everything.
Yeah.
But Dreamweaver
Well,
could
and
actually
you could
do
tie
it.
it to your database as well,
Yeah,
which was
it was
awesome.
so great. So I actually went from Dreamweaver to my second programming job in 2012 is when I went from Dreamweaver to PHPStorm. I think it was PHPStorm 5 or PHPStorm 6. And that was kind of like breaking my brain of all of the Adobe shortcuts, and then really kind of cementing, whatever the PHPStorm shortcuts were at the time. So my current key map that I keep syncing around all my different computers is essentially that, but with some overrides. But no, I don't try to do the Vim stuff. I didn't learn Vim enough to where I was what I would call a power user. My mentor, when I was learning Linux, he wouldn't let me use Nano when I was working with him, and whenever I was he was trying to teach me something, he never let me use Nano because Nano at the time wasn't going to be available on a rescue image of Linux, and that tells you how far back I was learning Linux. Is you only had VI, you didn't even have Vim back in the day, and some of these rescue images on early Slackware and early Red Hat instances. Even if you want to go back even further, Mandrake, you just had VI. So if you broke something and had to rescue it, you didn't have Nano. So that was kind of where I learned enough VI to be somewhat functional. And that's about where I am today. But at this point, you kind of really have your option. I mean, Nano's almost always available. Vim's almost always available. Even the Emacs users can typically get Emacs pretty easily in their distribution. So these days it's much more flexible, but I don't know. I never had that tribal association with Vim that a lot of people seem to have.
I started off on VS Code when I first started, because that's like what everyone was telling me to use. It was free. It was an easy one to use. And then some weird podcast called PHP Uglies talked about Vim and trying Vim, and I thought, I'll give Vim a go. And I did get really into it. I worked through, I found out that Jess Archer had a course on Laracast on how to set up Neo.
That's actually a great course too.
And that's the setup I use and had used for a long time. And then I got to, when was it? I got to a point where I was finding that things were going wrong with it every now and then, and I didn't have enough knowledge to fix it. I was using AI to ask questions. I was kind of one of these, no, I'll never use AI. Not going to use any of them as they were starting to come out. And I then moved to, I thought, no, I'm earning a living now out of PHP. I should try PHPStorm. Really liked it, but I also brought a lot of my Vim bindings that I got used to into PHPStorm. So I do a bit of both of my key bindings in Storm. Is some of them are Vim, and some are just the standard ones that are in there. There's lots more I want to do. I mean, Eric keeps showing me his setup, and it's like, yeah, there's more I can do. I just don't. And I can do it and decide how to do it. So there's so much more I wanted to do in that. But
yeah, idea of Vim was the big game changer for me with PHPStorm. So I was. It was funny. I was a Vim guy because I was a server guy initially, right? And to get you got on servers, you either did Nano, Emacs, or Vim, and I just did Vim. Just luck of the draw, I guess. It was. I never even considered it as like a full-time development tool until I saw somebody at work using it for development. I'm like, and like it wasn't even registering in my head. I'm like, why are you using you're on your desktop, just use a just use a regular editor, like why are you using Vim? And they started to explain to me the powers behind Vim, like, oh, you can, it has all this functionality. And I mean, they weren't even a big plugin person either. But so I tried uh, PHP Storm and VS Code. I tried them both and never really got either one of them to stick because I just couldn't break, by that time, years of Vim movements, right? I couldn't break it. And I just didn't understand why I was trying to break it, because VS Code initially seemed more approachable, but PHP Storm just seemed like such overkill. Like, it's like there's just so much here. I'm like, I'm never going to use 90% of this stuff. I'm not going to use. So I kind of just didn't really embrace it. And then the idea of Vim plugin came and just kept getting better and better and better. And then I learned that you could have your own idea of Vim RC file, which is kind of like the old Vim RC file. And once I learned that, and I could set up my own bindings and basically mirror what my back then, what my Vim setup was, that was the game changer. Because at that point, I was like, oh, I don't care where I'm at now. Like, as long as I have my bindings, it could be a terminal, it could be PHP Storm. It didn't really matter. I still feel kind of guilty because I still don't think I use PHP Storm like how it should be used. I almost use it like as a dedicated terminal, but it's typically running all the time on my computer now, because it's like if I work on a lot of different projects, so I'll just open up multiple projects and just let PHP Storm index them and just keep them running. And for the onesie twosie things, I'll still, like, NeoVim is still my go-to. Like, if I'm editing something, I typically go there first. But if I'm going to be in a project for any amount of time, especially if it's a PHP project, I'll typically back out and fire it up in PHP Storm. So yeah. So I PHP Storm has grown on me. And like I said, if you make a living doing it, just doesn't make sense not to invest in a tool like PHP Storm.
I mean, for me, what sort of gave me the push to go over to try Vim is the fact that you just stay on the keyboard. I have tendonitis or repetitive strain injury in both my wrists from drumming. Before anyone says anything else, it's from drumming. Bad years and years of bad technique when I'm playing the drums, and I tend to hit my drums quite hard, and you're not supposed to, but I get too into the music. Hey, and I'm moving to the mouse and using a mouse I was finding quite irritating. So I quite like that idea. So and that's why I like to bring it into PHP Storm as well. But so I've only scratched the surface of what I can do to be able to stop using my mouse.
Always the thing I forget about too. Like, reaching for a mouse just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I do it a lot more than I used to, but I always forget, like, that's one of the benefits of using a tool like Vim or NeoVim or something like that, is you don't have to reach for your mouse every time you want to move your damn cursor somewhere. It's like, it's nice.
So Frank, what IDE? What's your favorite IDE?
Well, currently that would be PHP Storm. I've used others in the past. I was actually sitting here trying to remember something like the last one I used, and started with an N, I think. And just the indexing was just taking so long. It was just infuriating me. And so I started looking around, and someone had mentioned, PHP Storm, and so I tried it out, and I thought it was really good, and I've been happy with it ever since. I have no reason to switch to anything else. Honestly.
Isn't PHP Storm, and I could be completely off base on this, but isn't all the JetBrains IDEs, weren't they like built off of Eclipse. Wasn't that the name of the
Is that
No,
right? Because I did remember trying Eclipse for a while. And, yeah.
They may have
Yeah.
been based, like loosely based, but the base of PHPStorm and all the other products is the IntelliJ product, which was their bread and butter before they started spinning off all the different languages. I think PHPStorm was the second or third one that they did, and then there's PyCharm, Ruby, RubyCharm, PHPStorm. They had a JS one. I think the JS one's still around. WebStorm.
WebStorm.
WebStorm. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then
There's
DataGrip,
also
which is kind of the larger database product that a smaller version is built into all the other tools.
Yeah, what's the difference between the standalone DataGrip and what you get with all the other IDEs?
I've had better luck with really complex queries in DataGrip as opposed to doing those in PHPStorm, but I don't really I can't really quantify that. Like, I just feel like I've had better experience breaking that out of PHPStorm. Maybe it's just the separation of logic of focusing on just the SQL as opposed to setting it all or seeing it all side by side. But I just, I felt like I had an easier time doing that. But I mean, these days, if I'm on a Mac, I'm using SQL Ace to do very similar things.
SQL Ace,
yeah. So it's been a while since I've had to really kind of reach for DataGrip itself.
Yeah. I'd never even used DataGrip in PHPStorm. I think I tried it for a little bit, but I was much happier with having a tool outside the IDE, like Table Plus is
that you could tab to. Yeah.
Yeah, just the way to put it together. It was just hard to see all the different views in PHPStorm and mixed up with my code and stuff. It was getting kind of frustrating. So
I used DB Beaver for a long time, and then discovered I could do it in PHPStorm, and now I just do everything in PHPStorm. It's just like for me, do I need to have another program running when it's there in the program? Might as well use the one that's in PHPStorm. I don't do complex queries, though.
Eric, is this the point that we tell them of the existence of Dadbod?
yeah, that your Vim plugin for that, yeah. That was actually something else I've gotten into a little bit.
And what's it called again?
Dadbod.
Yeah,
Dadbod.
It's a Vim plugin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a big Ponzi plugin. What is it?
The guy that writes it always picks weird names for his things, and that one happened to be Dadbod. And
It just lets you run SQL queries and it shows you the results, but you're still just in your terminal. I mean, nothing too crazy about it. That's like, I also like, and I'm not a big SQL person. That's where John shines. I mean, John will put together these crazy complex SQL statements. I know Frank and Kaylin on the team also does some. You guys do some crazy stuff too.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty basic. So, but I also like my terminal. So, like I said, I stay in my terminal as much as possible. And I got really hooked on MyCLI, or is it MyCLI? Yeah, I think that's what it is. MyCLI, which is I create aliases for it for all my different databases, but it's basically a MySQL command line client, but it has like auto completion and a bunch of like niceties that the standard MySQL client doesn't have. I think that's called MyCLI. Let me look it up. Yeah, MyCLI is what it's called. And they have a version for Postgres, and I think they even have a version for, I want to say Redis. I'm not positive about that, but I think they have a version for Redis. But yeah, it's cool. Like I said, it has auto completion. So for me, that helps me because I can never remember like what columns are named or what tables they're on or things like that. So I like that. I like to be able to tab, and it also does auto completion for the commands too. So like the selects and explains and whatever else you're running. Okay, I hate to do this to you guys. I need to drop off. I hear the guys down here calling for me, and I see him loading up his truck. So I need to run down to my guy here and see if he needs anything from me. So I might pop back on if you guys are still around, but if not, have a great holiday, all the listeners. And look at that, even my little thumbs up thing. So you guys take it easy, all right?
Yep.
All right.
See you. Bye. So Brooks, not a PHP guy, I see.
Storm now.
Was that you, or was that? Well, is Chris changing everyone's taglines?
No.
Not me.
Someone's changing taglines.
I changed mine.
So, Brooks, we've not come to you for a bit. So, what IDE do you generally use for your work? This will be an interesting one, I suppose.
VS Code, so it's not that interesting. But
kick him out.
Yeah. There's Windsurf for a while. I was playing with that. That's like an AI-powered VS Code, but they blew up. So now I'm back to VS Code.
So some people might know, some of the listeners might know, I'm doing a CS degree part-time through the Open University, and the module I'm doing now is React Native, and I will say now I'm absolutely hating it. But we're using VS Code in a controlled environment that the Open University have set up, so I have to log into a whole server to go into it, and I'm just I remember why I like PHPStorm more than for VS Code now, but it's made even harder to use because it's not like pure VS Code. It's in this weird environment. I can't put plugins in to make things easier for me. So as soon as I'm done with this module, the better.
To be honest, if you were in a standard university and not the Open University, you would be given a notebook and a pen to write the code.
I think I'd prefer that right now. But, yeah.
So you know the joke of people used to use Notepad? Well, in university it is literal.
Literal Notepad.
Yeah, I think the start of it was all just writing things down, pen and paper, or in the word processor. Then we moved on to a bit of their version of Scratch. They built their own version of Scratch to try and teach some more of the concepts. And then I've had to do some Java in. What was the IDE for that? I had to download. That's the point. I can't remember what that was now.
Eclipse?
No. There's something like Blue Jay or something like that. Is that?
Sounds a little familiar.
Yeah.
There is an IDE that's something around there, and I can't think what it's called.
Yeah, it's something like that anyway. But yeah, I had to download that. Python, I actually just used. I think I just used PHPStorm to do the Python, and then it kept shouting at me saying, "No, download, buy the license, and have this other product that does Python." So no, I'm only doing it for 3 months. I'm not downloading something new just to get past this course.
Right.
So, yeah, no.
So talking of IDEs, one of the reasons that I stick with NeoVim as much as I can is just sheer memory usage. For me, I can run the project that we both know of in NeoVim on about 1 gig of RAM. Open that in PHPStorm and you're closer to 6.
I'd like to get my NeoVim back up and running again, because I would like to possibly sort of delve back in, especially when I'm doing editing just text files and things like that. But it's completely broken, so I need to somehow fix it. I launch it and I just get hundreds of errors, and it's just needs.
So the normal NeoVim experience.
Is that normal? Okay, then I'll just carry on using it just like it is. Then that's fine. If that's normal, I've got you. I mean, I did have it at a point when I never had any errors, but okay, if that's normal.
No, that's when it's broken. When you don't get the errors,
something's wrong.
Okay. Well, I'll bear that in mind next time I fire up NeoVim. But yeah, that is. I like it because it was forcing me to have to learn how to use the keyboard more, because you physically couldn't use a mouse in that environment. And I kind of miss that. I want to go back to it at some point. But I also appreciate how good PHPStorm is at indexing the project. The autocomplete you can get from it. I don't know how. I've never tried to compare that with NeoVim to see whether NeoVim can live up to it.
So it's not quite the same in the way that it indexes, but PHP Actor does a pretty good job of indexing. The one thing that PHP Storm has far above any other IDE with PHP is the auto-completion. It's not just auto-completing code that you've written in that session. It's code anywhere in the code base and from packages. That's where it really excels.
Yeah. And that helps, obviously. All right, so let's move on to the next question that we have been sent. This will be interesting for Brooks to try and answer this one, but we might ask him a slightly modified question. What other must-have tools do you think a PHP developer or mobile developer, in Brooks's case, needs to have or learn? Who wants to weigh in there first?
PHP stand level 10.
No!
That will forever be my answer. PHP stand level 10. It gives you code that is as type safe as a fully type safe language. And
there's a certain project I'd love to see you to get there. Get to PHP.
Well, we're halfway there.
Yes, I know we're halfway there. I practically got us halfway there on that one.
Although I did uncomment all of the ones that comment out the ones that were hidden, and there's now 700 plus in there.
Not supposed to talk about them. That wasn't
right.
Me.
Okay.
That wasn't me either. Anyway, anyone else want to weigh in? What other tools tools you think we should know and use?
Well, I mean, if you want to count like something like Docker, and not XAMPP.
Is that not what we have Joe for?
Yeah, but you still got to use it.
Yeah,
but if you don't have Joe around, you got to learn something.
Then you got Lando.
Yeah, at least something like that.
Yeah, really, really learning and embracing your development environment, no matter what that is, and figuring out how to tinker with it, and figuring out how to identify what's different in your local environment and what's running in staging and production, and keep in mind that everybody has a production server and a staging or a testing server, and some of us are lucky enough that those are on different systems. So it really just depends on the organization and how things are built. Just really understanding I think we're pretty far split. Like, we have some projects that have custom Docker or basic vanilla Docker installations and configurations for local development, and that translates almost directly into production and staging environments, and it's really great. And then we have other projects that are using Lando that aren't running in Docker, they're running in Docker containers, but they're running in a very odd method of orchestration. And then we have some that are just running on servers directly, whether those servers are managed by Forge or just old PHP installations manually configured. So as a company, we and our clients, between all of the projects we manage and work on, that we have a pretty wide, diverse way of running things. And I know John and Eric are really big into the Laravel herd users, and they tormented me with that for like half a day last week, and everybody got to see me laugh and cuss and say really terrible things about a lot of development environments when I was debugging that. But I think a lot of what it comes down to is not every application, when it was originally built, was built for containers, right? So there's got to be some kind of configuration setup for containers, and just like not every project's going to run in Laravel Valet or Sail or even WAMP. Let's not even limit ourselves to just the PHP frameworks. Like, DDev is probably one of the biggest development environments outside of the PHP community for non-PHP users, and it's really great for those use cases. I don't use it just because I've always had alternatives, whether that was Vagrant based, Docker based, or just running on the metal. So I think the biggest thing is, whatever your local development environment is, make sure you understand the trade-offs to what you're running in production, so that you're catching those bugs faster. I mean, we're pretty far removed from the days where your development environment has to match production 100%. Yeah. I think a lot of people, I think most PHP developers never got there. And a lot of them just didn't care, right? And that's fine. Let your ops person let me care about that, about those differences, as long as there's some similarities to where we can try to catch some of those bugs, right? Because that's what it's usually about in local development. Is the faster you can catch those bugs, the cheaper they are to fix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
I think it also just comes down to don't lean so much on, the fact like we have, for ourselves we have Joe now, but for the longest time we didn't, and of course before I was working for PHP Architect, I was working for other groups, and even before that I was on my own, and I had no sysops guy to rely on. I had to learn that stuff, to be able to function, get things done. If you limit yourself, you don't learn a little more about your industry, I think you really hobble yourself. I'm not saying you have to hit this professional level of a sysops guy, like where Joe's at, but at least something that you can get some work done. I mean, it's almost like the idea that you have a vehicle and driving your car and you refuse to learn how to pump gas. That's just, to me, it's kind of silly,
Yeah, no, I'd agree, and sort of, I do want to delve more into sort of the Docker environments, and I have said to, I think pretty much everyone apart from Brooks on here that's definitely something I want to try and delve into a bit more next year, because that is one of my weak points. I can write code, but I'm not very good with the server side stuff and the container side stuff, and I do want to get to understand. I have lent on things like Lando quite a lot. In my career, which is quite a bit of a crutch, but as we've talked, I mean, compared to all of you guys, I'm quite young in my career. I've only been developing for 5 years now, so I'm still got a long way to go, a lot to learn. So
for me, it's like the Docker containers. Like each little container is not really a problem to start something like to specify it, right? To spec it out so it works. But it's the communication between all the containers, and then the communication from outside to your containers, back and forth. That's the part where I start to get confused sometimes.
That's where my understanding completely falls aside, and then being able to understand how to get into those containers and debug things, or be able to have commands that run things that will jump in there for you. I've been introduced recently to Makefiles, firstly through Joe, who did a great Makefile to help me with one of our projects with deployments, and then with a new client that I'm working with, everything is in a Makefile.
Yeah.
I don't write.
Great for that client though.
And now I don't write Docker for anything. It's all make. It's all make commands. Everything is make commands. Now I've got to learn all these make commands, but it's kind of meaning that I'm not learning the bare bones of Docker, because there's all these helpers things in the way. So I do want to try and get my head around that when I can, and much better. So I'm going to go to Brooks. Brooks, as a mobile developer and the odd one out here, what sort of tools would you recommend? You think that a developer needs in your field?
Well, when you go like hybrid mobile and you're using JavaScript to develop mobile, the thing that levels you up the most is learning native, like, and being able to use those together. I think a lot of people think like, well, I'm doing JavaScript to develop mobile, so I'll just stick to my lane and do the JavaScript and then freak out when a plugin doesn't work. So that's definitely been for me, like one of the big things was learning Swift and Kotlin or whatever, and how to integrate those with the rest of the app. But yeah, I don't know. So that's Xcode and Android Studio, but they're not that critical. Like, just use those in debugging. Most of the time I'm on VS Code. And if you can figure out the app stores, I don't know what's wrong with your head, but that's amazing, and more power to you, because those app stores are a nightmare.
Yes.
Like,
I have no idea what you mean, Brooks.
Something is wrong with you, because I don't understand why Apple can just make whole sections disappear if you don't accept a certain agreement on some other page or whatever. And Doesn't even tell you why.
That's a
I
control
did a-
thing. It's different.
I did a contract for a mobile app that was specifically designed for children. The whole point was this was an app that children used. They told me that I need to do age verification of the children. Hell no.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. That's a little invasive.
Yeah. No.
I mean, beside any of the legality issues and all of the privacy issues, how the hell does a child prove their age anyway?
I don't know. It's like here's your first reader, but make sure you check that you're old enough to read this book. Or
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's crazy.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, they've gotten there's actually one of my tickets is to verify that everyone using one of our clients' apps is older than 18. Like just to like sign a statement that says we do that.
oh,
That is partly because of a change in the law in the states. 3 of the
Yeah.
states are making age
Mhm.
verification a requirement.
that's right.
So anybody that's got a mobile app is currently going, how do we do that?
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're paying
may-
attention, otherwise you just accept the agreement and move on and hope you don't get sued. But
Yeah.
Well, let's not do that with our clients. I'm sure we don't.
yeah,
we do it right. We do it right. I've just glanced what the next question actually is, and we've already covered it. We would talk about native PHP with Brooks and see what he thinks of it, but we did that at the top of the show, so that's cool.
So we've actually done all of Eric's things because we established that Eric is in fact the best boss because he got here first.
Yeah.
And John hasn't even bothered. He
Bless
does have an excuse. He
has a very good excuse. He's not very well.
Yeah.
Bless him.
No.
Bless him. So, I mean, now we can ask our own questions. We've done the bosses one. Let's start with the show properly. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about is it's the end of the year. It's the last show of the year, and what we talk about is what's great in PHP. I want to see what do we think is the highlights of PHP into 25, and what are we looking forward to, or what we'd like to see come into our community in 26.
Well, pipelines. I know everybody's very excited for PHP pipeline coming through. That's just that to get started.
Yeah. That pipe operator is going to be a big change for a lot of people.
Yeah, I got to dig into that and study up some more on it. But that's because that's just a great process to use, anyways, right? A pipe like that. To pass your data through and all that. It's just
and then combine that with the one that's coming in 26 sometime. The partial function application means you can now do pipes with more than one parameter.
That is going to be key. That's going to be very important. Yeah.
Interesting,
Yep. PHP has been just evolving like crazy, and it's just absolutely fantastic. Some things I'm kind of like, like attributes. I'm not sure about attributes. I remember using attributes with, because Symfony supported them, through their stuff, but I do like some things about attributes, especially if you can have your definitions right there and things are kind of more clearly defined. As an example, doctrine entities, in Symfony, right? You have all your attributes right there that are defining how they're supposed to be looking at, like in the database. So you don't have to go look into your schema. You don't have to go look at the schema of the database. You should be able to just look at your model and go, well, the limit is 45 characters, oh, I broke that, kind of thing. Those are nice to have, but we'll see how these, there's some pretty interesting and very cool attributes that they're adding.
One of the ones that's been added recently, and I'm sort of playing with it in a app for fun to find out how far it goes, but the no discard attribute, that is hilariously good.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
really makes sure you're handling things.
yeah. That's like you can't destroy this, right?
Hmm.
You cannot destroy this object, yet. At some point, yeah, that's
You actually have to do something with it.
yeah, some actual cleanup rather than just saying, oh, garbage collection will take care of it for me, and oops, I have a data leak.
We wouldn't know anything about data leaks, would we?
Right? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But
I think this year PHP's blown up. There's so much good stuff come out this year. You've got AI. You've got AI. You've got native PHP, which is a massive game changer for PHP developers, I think.
Well, once they expand that ecosystem, I think it's kind of pretty narrow right now, which I can kind of understand, But
So version 2 is now out, and it's added a lot of what we were waiting for. So a lot of the extra native stuff has been added, and there is, I don't know if this one's out or coming, but there is a function coming that allows you to write your own native code and call it.
Oh.
And that just made Brooks happy.
Yeah. No, I remember looking at it and thinking there's no way I can make my own plugins for this, but
yeah,
that's something they've been working on for a while.
Is native PHP still like kind of limited to Laravel?
It is at the moment, but it is something they are looking at. So
I would
want
to be able to see something
it.
like Slim, right? Like
hell yeah,
yeah, something lightweight.
If we could get something really small like Slim, or even a stripped down Symfony working in native PHP, you can have some seriously tiny apps.
Yeah, like what was it, Cilius, right? Cilius is one of those kind of like where they use the slim down Symfony and you just add a few little your doctrine and some other things to it, and it just keeps your footprint smaller.
That's one of the things I like about Symfony. You literally pick and choose what bits you care about.
Yeah, and what they put in there is good. So it's like like Doctrine. To me, Doctrine's a fantastic ORM. I mean, it's a little heavy. Maybe some people don't like the repository pattern and you have the flush and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's very good.
So, Joe, what's your thoughts on the last 12 months in the PHP world?
I think one of the things that is probably coming, maybe if it's not going to be in 8.6, it's probably going to be in whatever the next version is. But I think there's been a lot of discussion about true async, or what people are calling true async. And I think if you haven't been following that thread on internals, it gets kind of spicy here and there, because there is a contingent of users who feel like they are pure async users and they want that in PHP, and they feel like they're the underrepresented minority in the internals world, and they're trying to fight for visibility. And a lot of, I don't think people are necessarily fighting that async comes to core PHP as it were. I think a lot of the argument is the implementation, because every time somebody comes out with, all right, here's my RFC, the implementation just gets shredded on the mailing list, as implementations kind of tend to do in the PHP world, in our RFC process. That there is a lot of bike shedding that goes into it. And I like to hope, I like to hope, or I want to hope, that all that bike shedding is for the ultimate betterment of the language and the betterment of our experiences as the PHP developers. But I think once we sort out whatever this async implementation is going to be, I think that is going to allow a lot more of these people who are Node.js diehards to be able to say, oh, well, maybe I can go write this in PHP. Because PHP, as much as it has going for it, there's still not that much representation in boot camps or career changing programs, or even schools or universities. They're just really not teaching a lot of PHP. And the ones that are have those grizzled PHP veterans, as I would refer to them, as the instructors or as the teacher, where they're coming up with the curriculum or they're adjusting the curriculum to be able to use PHP. And there's just so few, and those pockets of the people teaching PHP are just so few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start looking at reports of the age of your PHP developers who are filling out these surveys, right? Yeah. We're not really getting much younger, and that's a bus factor thing. That is just a progression of time thing. So it really kind of is going to be up to the community to figure out, how do we onboard the next generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we find the PHP 9 contributors? How do we find those release managers, right? How do we help the foundation push the whole language forward? Because the foundation has been doing incredible work as well, and it's really great to kind of think through what they've been doing, with Roman stepping down as the executive director, and they're on the search for an executive director replacement. That's huge. So being able to see like these async things, the foundation coming together and continuing to do the work and continuing to get the support, that's the really big thing. Is the foundation, one of the kind of questions I had with the foundation was, are people really going to be in this for the long haul? And it seems like they are. And that's incredibly reassuring, because the worst thing that could have happened is the foundation just didn't get any support. But what helped was there were so many people from internals guiding those conversations at the foundation, and the big companies that were putting up the money behind it, having all of those guided conversations really kind of ensured the success. So looking forward to seeing what more they're going to do.
And it's funny, a lot of what you said there, Joe, is things that we talk about quite often on the show, and is kind of the reason why the show was born. We're trying to highlight PHP, try and push PHP. I know a lot of the watchers and listeners are probably PHP developers, but one day, hopefully, we'll show up in someone's feed that's not a PHP developer, listen to some of this cool stuff that is going on in PHP, and come over and join us. And we're going to be working really hard in May to convert all those JS developers that come over to JS Tech to join us in PHP. But I mean, I'm not dissing on JavaScript at all, or JavaScript developers. I don't get on with JavaScript. I really have always struggled with that. So it's been I don't know why. PHP just clicked for me. PHP made sense to me, and maybe it's just the way my brain works, and I was able to understand it. But I think as a community, we need to start bringing in the youngsters. And Joe, you're absolutely right. We need to figure out a way of representing PHP to people that are looking for career changes. I found it by accident. That's how I ended up in PHP. I could have found any other language or not at all. It just so happened that the school I worked in, the intranet, was made from PHP, and I was asked if I wanted to start fiddling around with it and start learning how to maintain it and add to it. And I found that I really enjoyed it. That's how I got in. There are no boot camps that teach PHP as far as I'm aware, because they're all JavaScript and things like that, because it's easier for them to find the jobs in that area. But if we can... We've talked about, me and Chris talk about these sorts of things quite often on the show with other people, and just us, me and Chris, talking privately. We want to find ways to, as a community, to bring other people in, and I think we all need to pull together and try and do that. Try and educate companies to stop advertising for a junior developer that needs 20 years experience in PHP. These sorts of things. I mean, I was lucky. My first job, I was surprised to find one that said 1 year's experience.
Yeah.
Because every single one I was looking at was asking for 5 years experience.
Right. This is an entry-level job with 5 years experience needed.
No. Yep. Entry level job. I would even say an entry level job shouldn't be 1 year's experience. It should be no experience.
No, yeah.
Just have an understanding of some of the programming concepts. Can you explain to me what an if statement does? Can you explain to me what an else if, and all those sort of fundamental blocks that we use day to day? If you can explain those to us, I mean, this is a language that Brooks can join in, because these are fundamentals that we use in any single language. These fundamental blocks, and then teach them the language. And as Chris bangs on a lot to me and to everyone else that listens about, once you understand those concepts and have got that open mind, you should be able to move to any language.
That's
You
right.
just need to learn the syntax
That's right.
and
Once you
understand the syntax.
That's right. You understand some architecture, flow, control, structure. Those things all apply because that's what languages need. At least for programming a computer, anyways. So yeah.
So
The vast majority. The vast majority of languages follow the same patterns. There's the odd one or two that exist that break those rules, but the vast majority of languages are an evolution on top of C.
Right. Yeah, that's what I remember looking when I was looking at PHP, trying to learn. And I was like, well, this is actually has a lot of things like C. So it made sense. It was easy to slip into, or easier to slip into, yeah.
I mean, I suppose we could throw everybody into COBOL and have some real fun, but...
Oh my God. I'll just go back to assembly.
Probably easier.
So, yeah. Brooks, Brooks is distracted. Are you back with us?
Man.
That's all right. Your son, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you what your thoughts are on. I mean, I know you can't speak a lot about PHP over the last 12 months, but your sort of area of expertise. What's happening around there?
So with hybrid mobile development, there's a couple new projects that are kicking off. Lynx is one of them. That I've been eyeballing. I think that's by Alibaba, whatever. So yeah, just and PHP native, like we spoke about, is another one. So yeah, just kind of seeing what's next. I mean, capacitor's still there, and we just went to capacitor 8. So we're kind of, keeping up, but I don't see as much enthusiasm around it as I did when like Cordova capacitor came out, stuff like that. So seeing what's next. And then React Native is what everyone's doing, but nobody likes
hopefully we'll see something about that stuff at JS Tech.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know when the speakers for that's going to be announced. I'm guessing it'll be in the new year now. But Call for Papers has closed on that. But yeah, so if you haven't heard, we're not just doing a PHP conference this year. We're doing a JavaScript conference running alongside. So yeah, we got JS Tech running alongside PHP Tech at the same time in the room, right down the hall in the broom cupboard, miles away from the rest of us. No. You'll be right next to us.
Behind a curtain.
Yeah, behind walls of security. No.
You know what JavaScript is missing that PHP has is PHP has an elephant. Manager? No.
Yeah,
I will swear. True, but... I will swear to the end of my days that PHP has the best package manager on the planet.
It is seriously like one of the best. It is so good.
You don't like Node modules?
Oh my God.
No.
I mean, at least you have that, but good Lord.
Why is it? If you can explain this to me in JavaScript, I may give you that Node is acceptable. Why does a package exist in Node that allows you to check if a number is even or not with AI?
What?
And that's hard for AI to do. Like AI is not really great at math fundamentally, like out of the gate.
No, not really. No.
It's better with words and stuff. Like, I wouldn't use that package.
Who the hell thought to do that?
But you know what? It's gonna get adopted by some like package that everyone else uses, and
do you have to drop in your API key to the AI service to be able to use it or not?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this even or odd?
Yikes.
I'm not sure.
Yikes. You're absolutely right. 3 is an even number.
Right. Yeah. When you multiply it by 2, wait. So I just did a quick search, on JavaScript development and stuff like that. There's an article here that's listing 88 best mobile app development tools for 2025. 88.
I use all of them.
And how many CSVs are attached to those?
Right. Yeah.
I kid JavaScript users because I think in my career I used to be one of the language haters, and I matured pretty quickly out of that. I like to think because I realized they were all equally bad. It's just which language's syntax do you find the least appalling, and the ones that click with you, like what Mike was saying. PHP just clicked for him. It just clicked for me because I was learning PHP after Perl and after Python, so it just really was a natural progression for me. But and it took me a while to learn JavaScript because it was such a fundamentally different way of thinking about building, and I hadn't done a lot with event loops or even async before I really dug into JavaScript. So, and I also learned it adjacent to web development and trying to stay on top of things. I didn't really learn jQuery until kind of late in the game, and then I got really, really comfortable with it. And then once I knew those language fundamentals, that gets you into the conversation of, are you learning the language or are you learning a framework? Once I had the language fundamentals down, things like React and TypeScript and different frameworks really kind of clicked. They kind of made sense. It's like, oh, I understand now. Whereas I could do the same comparison between Laravel and Symfony and Cake PHP and Slim PHP. It's like, oh, I understand all of those now, but I had the fundamental knowledge of PHP underneath that. So you get these people who have only ever built with Laravel. They're Laravel developers. They can grok some PHP, but if you get them outside of the confines of Laravel, they may struggle. And that's where it's like, I think there's room for all those kinds of developers, right? The people who are the 9 to 5 developers who are going to write their code and go home and go hang out with their kids. I'm all for it. Then there's going to be people who are going to be like, oh, well, I want to live and breathe this. And I think I think there's room for everybody, but at the same time, I think you're going to have a lot better time debugging and diagnosing problems with better fundamental language understandings. That way you're understanding what's going on.
Of course. Yeah.
Eric is seeking some clarification from you, Joe.
I feel like I can't answer that based on the shirt I'm wearing. and my appreciation for Eric keeping me employed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you'll answer that later in Slack, right?
Eric's the best at even being immature. He's the best.
Yeah, I don't,
Oh my gosh.
Well done.
Yeah, I totally agree. Joe, it's like you want it. I think it just kind of goes back to like you just need to expand. Some people like to just do their job and they just stay in their job, but you can get better at it in that little space, but you kind of need to expand a little bit if you want to even get even better than that and learn more and understanding some of those underlying things, about
if you want to grow in the career and you want to do more, and not everybody does, and that's kind of what the people, that's what I call the 9 to 5ers, the people who just want to do their work, go home. They don't care about growing. They don't care. These aren't people that are going to go to a user group meetup. They're not going to come to PHP Tech or JS Tech and hang out with the cool people. And the early bird tickets are still on sale for JS Tech, by the way. So those are the people who may not go to those conferences, or in some cases they may go to a conference and discover the community. I've seen that happen a lot at PHP Tech and other conferences. Is that this was a 9 to 5 traditional developer that their company got an advertisement for PHP Tech, and they said, hey, do you want to go to Chicago for PHP Tech? And the employee was like, yeah, sure, whatever, I don't care, it's professional development, that sort of thing. And they go and they discover the community and they kind of become involved in it, and that's what's magical. That's what we need more of, and that's what really warms my heart when at Tech, is seeing those new people come into the community.
PHP does have a fantastic community. It just it just seems kind of like a little shrouded, though. Like it just like, why aren't the younger folks like you guys are mentioning, learning about it, like in the high schools and stuff like that? They're learning other stuff like that. I do want to say one thing. The only thing that puts me off on a language is white space. If white space is required, that just tees me off, and it just makes me want to walk away. Because what the heck?
You just need to enable those white space indicators, and you'll be perfectly fine. And Vim, preferably.
It just shouldn't require it. It's like I missed a space in there, and now that can't compile. What is that?
I've spent way too much time. I've spent way too much time in YAML and Python to where the white space just doesn't bother me anymore. I don't know if it's Stockholm syndrome or just I've just gotten used to it now, but yeah. And Kubernetes will do that to you. Kubernetes will test your limits of YAML for sure.
The thing is that I really don't understand. If the compiler knows that you need a tab there, why does it not just do it itself?
Right. Right. It's not necessary.
Yeah.
Uh,
So then your compiler should just fix your code. That's not dangerous at all.
Yes.
No, or just ignore it and go, look, it's this thing this belongs in the loop, so who cares where space? Yeah.
Now, I want to just come back on a few things that Joe was saying, and I do joke about having to learn whatever it is, React Native or whatever I'm having to do for the CS course, but having been forced to use Java and Python as well, I had to learn a little bit of that on one of the modules. I didn't give it enough time because I'm literally learning it for a couple of months just to do one little thing. So for Java, it was teaching us object-oriented programming. I can't remember why we did Python. Might have just touched a little bit on data science, maybe. I can't remember. It was quite a while ago when I did that. But these languages were picked for a reason, to teach you something. But you don't spend enough time with them. And I am open to trying to grow and learn other things. Else I wouldn't have been part of the PHP Ugly back then community, and landing this job basically, because that's how I got this job, was because I was active in those chats, and Eric and John got to know me through that. But the community is the second thing I wanted to just say, is that although I hadn't been to any conferences up until I went to Tech in 24 for the first time. And yes, I was brought over to Chicago so we're just saying goodbye to Brooks, who needs to drop off. See you, Brooks. He's gone. I was brought over to work on the conference as a team member, but finding that community live, as it were. I've seen the community online. I've been involved in the community online, talked to people online, played chess with people like Frank and that before even knowing these people, and then coming to Tech and then sitting there and having a chat with this gentleman that's just come over, goes, "Oh, you've got a chessboard," so have a chat and realise it's Awoods. I'm sitting talking to Awoods. I'm like, oh, that's it. And then sitting talking to anyone in the community you can think of, like some of the big names. Ben Ramsey, ended up having a long conversation with him at Tech last year. Didn't really get to talk to him this year much, but didn't see him much. But last year we talked quite a bit. So this is Ben Ramsey. I'm talking to Ben Ramsey,
Right.
but there's no sort in other communities. I think there's this hierarchy sort of system where these top names don't talk to us peasants down on the ground. But when you walk into a PHP conference, especially Tech itself, it was just everyone was just chat to anyone, stand talking to anyone, and just very welcoming, and it was a really, as you say, Joe, magical experience for me to experience that live in the flesh. And I think Tech has got a special feel to it. I've not been to a lot of PHP conferences. I've been to a few, and I still would actually hold, and I would say I'm not being paid to say this, but I probably am. But PHP Tech is my favourite one by far. Just the feel, the family feel that I got when I walked in. And I suppose it helped that I was been working with the team for a few months. I mean, that was in April last year. It was earlier last year, wasn't it, Frank? It was in April.
Yeah.
And I'd only joined the team in February. So I'd only seen you guys like faces, and that's it on the screen. And then seeing everyone It's quite intimidating. I will admit it was. That's my social anxiety that sort of kicks in. But within seconds, I just felt at home. It was just so. I've not felt that in other social situations before. Personally, I've always found it difficult to get into the place where I start to feel comfortable in that environment. So yeah, no, it's.
I've always been looking for like meetups. Of course, I live now in the Bay Area on the coast, the West Coast, and up north of San Francisco. And you think, well, God, there's a whole tech industry down here, right? But really, where I'm at, there's like no, like everything web development is like always online, and sometimes you just want to be able to sit with people, I think, and talk to them face at least in some physical proximity. I don't know. It just, I mean, online stuff, it works. It's great, because you can communicate and all that, transmit your ideas. But I don't know. It just seems like the energy is better, or it feels better once you actually met some of the people, physically. You see that they're real, I guess. I don't know.
Well, on that note, I think we are going to have to start saying goodbye. We have run a lot longer. This is probably going to be our bumper episode, Christmas special, or holiday special, I should say. Holiday special.
I mean, if we're going to go for our average of an hour per week, we actually need to go for another hour and a half.
Yeah, well, Chris, some of us have got work to do, and I'm sure the bosses will start going, "Why are you still streaming?" So I think it's time. I think it's time to say goodbye. So let me just bring. My screen keeps going off on this side for some bizarre reason. So if you are watching this after the fact or on YouTube or any of our other platforms like Twitch, I think we're on, do come over to our Discord channel. Come and hang out. We're all in there, but it's not just us. There are internal people. There are package developers. There are so many great people in there. A lot of brilliant developers, and just want to chat. We talk about all sorts of things over there. So do come over and join us. If you are on the YouTube channel or haven't been over there yet, please check the actual channel out, like and subscribe and all that goodness, and help us with the algorithm and all that stuff. Let's get this PHP out further. So the more people that like and subscribe, the more chances are this show is going to be shown to other people. Don't forget the magazine discount. Treat yourself for 2026 years subscription with the first 3 months free of the digital subscription. I have to remember to say that it's a digital one. That's a live 3. And don't forget, tickets for tech are on sale. That is PHP Tech in May, Chicago. Come and join us. We've just been talking about how amazing atmosphere it is over there. And don't forget that JS Tech is also running alongside. I'll let Chris catch up with the lower thirds. He's going a bit slow. JS Tech running alongside PHP Tech. We are embracing our JS brothers and bringing them into the fold as well. If you like some of our designs and swag, I can't even see which side it is. I'm going to head over to our swag store and pick up a t-shirt. And some awesome designs I still need. There's still my favourite one that I still haven't ordered yet. I need to get that. Yep. Some great t-shirts over there. That is it. That is the end of Alive and Kicking for 2025. Everyone, that's it. It's been a busy couple of months for us, Chris, isn't it? The amount of
just a little
shows we've put out. This is episode 21. We've done 21 episodes in the matter of what?
We actually got to the point that we were releasing 2 a week in the middle of this.
And the original plan was fortnightly. And for our American friends, that's every other week. We've had lots of discussions about what fortnightly means.
It's fine. It's a package.
A dictionary will explain it. It's not.
Well, the fact that Eric thought I was just going to be playing a game all the time.
Right, Fortnite.
No. This is it. That. This is it for us for this year. So thank you very much to everyone that's been watching. We really appreciate it. We will be back Chris, what's our first week back?
I don't know.
I haven't got a calendar up. Someone tell me. Is it the 6th?
It's either the 6th or the 13th. I'm awaiting a reply from somebody.
Ah, yes, we're already getting our guests in line for next year. So that'll be great to come and join us in the new year. I hope everyone has a lovely holidays, however you celebrate them, and we will see you in the new year. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.